今天给大家带来圣诞戒指。
To start the center of our ring, which is a component that you can use for earrings too, is take some 11O seed beads, 2 colors of 15s, some 4mm pearls, and then of course my 12mm Rivoli. And I am going to tie 12 beads here into a loop at the bottom of some thread. You can definitely use green thread. I'm using gray so you can see it a little bit better. And this is going to be your dragon thread. I'm using size 8 for this. Because it's going to be a ring component, I wanted it to be a little bit thicker of the thread. As I go in now, we are going to add some pearls that are going to be the base for our piece to sit on. I want you to go through 2 of your 11O seed beads after the knot. And then as you exit through those 2 seed beads, I want you to pick up 2 more 11s, followed by 1 15. I'm going to use my darker color. 1 of your 4mm pearls, another 1 of your 15s, and 2 more of our 11O seed beads. We're going to sew back into those 2 seed beads that your thread is coming out of. We're going to sew up through those first 2 11O seed beads there. Add a 15 pearl, 15, and then 2 more seed beads. What you're going to do now is circle through the next 2 seed beads from that first line of 12, going towards the loop that you just finished. And you can see that these are going to go around and create the foundation of our wreath. Go up through those 2 seed beads that were at the start, that your thread was originally coming out of, through the 15 pearl 15. And this is right angle weave, whether or not you realize it. You're going down through those 2 seed beads, and then you're going to go through the next 2 seed beads from that center line. So here now we're on the side, we're going to do 2 seed beads, then our 15 pearl 15, and then back down through the 2 11Os that are already there on the previous pearl section. From here, we're going to go back through those 2 seed beads that our thread was originally coming out of. And then, just like we did before, up through those 2 11O seed beads. Coming out the 2 11O seed beads, 15, pearl, 15, 2 more of your 11s, and through the next 2 seed beads along the base. As you're going through the next 2 seed beads along the base, if you can also go up through the 2 seed beads that your thread is currently coming out of. I have on 4 of those. I'm going to go through the pearl and the 15, back through the 15 and the 11, down through the next 2 11O seed beads that sit on that first line of 12. 2 more seed beads go on, then a 15, your pearl, 15, down through those 2 11s, and through the 2 11s that are along the base. 1 more to add now, and it's going to start to curl it up a little bit here. You're going to go up through the 2 right there, and we're going to connect the 2 sides together. To connect the 2 sides together, add a 15, your next pearl, and a next 15, just like as you were doing. But instead of adding 2 seed beads after, you're going to go down through the 2 that are already there on the opposite side. Give a nice tight pull, and that creates our original little wreath for our beads for our crystal to set inside. From here, we are going to create a netting to hold the crystal in place. So I want you to go back through your project. So you're coming out through your pearl bead here, stepping around. You can see how my thread is spinning around here, going up through those 2 11s, leading up to the top of the wreath where the green is. You're going to go through your 15 and out through your pearl. When you're out through your pearl, we're going to do a collection of seed beads to do our netting and build in our bezel. Coming out of the pearl, I want you to add 5 15s. I'm adding a medley of colors here to make it look a little bit more wreathish. Going with my lighter green, darker, lighter, darker, lighter. 5 of those 15-0s go on, and you're sewing into your next pearl. Same thing as we go along the outer edge here. Lighter, darker, lighter, darker, lighter. That's 5 15s and through the next pearl. We're going to continue the whole way around the outside of the wreath here, adding in those 5 seed beads before we go in and actually add an additional 11-0 here between our units of our pearls. So go ahead and add in your 5 seed beads between all the rest of your pearls. As you complete your final loop here of your 5th bead, you're going and coming out through the pearl. And what we want to do is create our netting. So I'm going up through the 5 beads that I just added, and I'm coming out through that center lighter bead. From here, I'm going to add 6 beads, also 15s, and catch on to that middle bead of all of those sections of 5. For this one, I'm going to add the 2 darker, 2 lighter, 2 darker, and then hop over to that middle bead that sits in the next group of 5. As we do this, we're going to get to a point where it comes back in that we're going to get ready to slide our red crystal in the middle. So 2 dark, 2 light, 2 dark, and this can obviously be done with all the same color. I'm just doing a mixture of greens. Going to your next set of 5 and sewing through. Now, as you do this, again, you'll notice pulling the thread through that your bezel is getting smaller and it's starting to pull in. See how we're getting that wreath? As you get further in, we're going to get ready to catch our crystal in the middle of our wreath with an additional level of netting. So go ahead around and keep putting in those groups of 6 beads, catching onto the middle of the group of 5 beads from the previous line of netting. As you go around the circle, you can see that I dropped my crystal in here just because as I do this last one, it does kind of hug the crystal just a little bit, and it's easier to kind of position the crystal without having to pull those back. From here, we're going to once again step up into the netting, and we're going to come out through our 2 lighter greens. See how I did that on purpose with the color change, so that way you could see the line that it's going through. From here, we're going to add the darker green, 1, 2, and 3 beads, and then sew over to the next grouping of 2 light beads. And that's going to pull that in really tight. 1, 2 more 15s over to the grouping of the 2 lighter beads that sit in the middle of that grouping of 6. So you're sewing through beads, if you're doing different colors, you are sewing through beads 3 and 4 that you just did on the previous row of your netting. After adding, 2 more darker beads. And again, it doesn't really matter color-wise, just the wreath color gets pulled in. As you do this, you'll also see that the pearls almost start to pop out more, and you'll see those pearls a little bit more in their setting. Going around here, you can see how that's really pulling it in towards the center. And as you do so, pulling it in towards that center, there, you can see I have 1 more to go. And of course I need more beads up. You start to get that really, really pretty wreath look to it. So on goes 2 more beads. And through those original 2 15-0s in the lighter green that your thread was originally coming out of. At the same time, I'm going to kind of lock it in place by going back through the first 3 greens that I just added in, as well as coming out through the second set of 15-0s in that lighter green. What that's going to do is just pull that netting in tightly, push those seed beads out, and you have that nice wreath going around. From here, I'm going to go to the outside of the piece. You can, if you want to, take 1 more time around that center. I'm going down through the outer edge here, out to the outer edge on the outside, going in, taking my thread and needle through that crisscrossed area, going through the 15 that sits before the pearl, and out. You can see how pretty that is just as its own wreath. It can be a nice holiday earring with that design. You can put a post even on there. And we are going to use this component and put a ring band onto it so it makes that nice little wreath for the holiday. We're going to extend the wreath even more. And how are we going to extend the wreath? We are going to go in and we are going to loop around the pearls to make a little bit more of our wreath on the outer edge. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 seed beads. And so back through the pearl that our thread is currently coming out of. And that's going to bring that wreath look around the pearl. In between the pearls then, to get from one to another, we're just basically going to fill in that negative space. So to fill in the negative space, I need a couple more of my 11-0s out here. We're going to add in a 15-0, 1, 2 11-0s, and another 15-0, and sew over and come out through the next pearl. So see how I flipped it over? It's just a little bit easier to hold when you're doing so. And then flip it over. You'll get just that tiny little twinkle of red. If you want more of the twinkle of red, you can add in an additional seed bead in the place. Here again, 2 darker green, 2 lighter green, 2 darker green, or switch it up, back through the pearl that you just came out of, wiggling your thread there. Between it, if you want to pull a little bit tighter or you don't want to see the red, flip over, just do 1 11-0 between 2 15-0s. So a lot of variety. That tucks it in. This pops out a little bit, and 3 will make that red even go out a little bit more. Go in and continue adding your beads along the outer edge, getting more of that bigger wreath look as you progress out. Once you're done with your wreath here, you can go in and do extra little curvatures and make it bigger if you want to. Add an extra pearl along the outside here coming out of your group of 6. You can add simply a pearl here if you want to make it go bigger and make more of that wreath look. I'm going to make mine into a ring. So it's a component. You can use it in a lot of different ways, but this one's going to become a ring. So where to position for a ring. And then also if you want to do a pendant, just come out the top there, add the wire guard. You can do that as an earring or a pendant. So to do the ring, what we are going to do, and keep in mind, this can work for most components. We're going to work our way into the interior back. If I have it go and connect further out, then it's not going to sit as high. It's going to sit more recessed. If you want it to sit higher, you're going to bring it closer to the back. So I'm going to take my thread and needle, and I'm just going to work them through the project here, through that red along the side. And I'm going to hop down into the back here, into that first original go round. There we go. And then I'm going to go through 2 of my seed beads. And that is going to be the foundation to connect my ring band. You can also make your bail here as well too, or make it interchangeable that it could be worn as a ring or as a pendant. And we're just going to simply use our silver lined red beads, go in and coming out those 2 beads, add 2 beads, go back through them, and we're going to make a nice simple ladder stitch band. Go back through the 2 that your thread were coming out of. If you want to, you can add some of the 15-0s along the side of it. Add 2 more. Go into the opposite side that your thread was coming out of. Let those lay right on top. And then sew back through. And you can see that grouping of 2 starting to happen as it comes further out the piece. Then it gets bigger and bigger. You can put it on a ring mandrel to get the exact size. You can slide it on your ring to make sure that it's the exact size. And you're just going to add 2, go back through the 2 your thread were coming out of, and go back through the 2 that you just added. And that is just ladder stitch. I'm going to continue going on and adding more and more and more. And then when we get finished, we're going to hop over to the 2 right there and connect on the opposite side so it looks like a beautiful Christmas cocktail ring. All right, so to make this into a bail, you're just going to connect in the exact same spot where you did your first row, and then it can hang just like that. It can also be a little ornament decoration for your mini Christmas tree, or it can go on a package as well on the exterior. And then on the interior, you have just a cotton cord to slide it onto. But if you want to continue onto the ring, we're going to go back to this opposite side here after making the band as long as you want it to be. And whatever side your thread is coming out of, that's the side that you're going to sew into on that set of original 2 beads from that group of 20. And I'm going to go through and reinforce that connection point, going through those original 2 beads that sit across, going through the 2 beads that my thread just came out of, tightening that up, and doing the same thing. Now, some people, I'm going to go through one more time just to get that connection point really, really secure. Some people will go through and reinforce their whole ring. I noticed just a little trick here. See how my thread there is a little bit loose? I'm going to sew back around through those 12 beads after coming out here of that original row. And my starter thread is right there too. I'm going to go back through those 2 beads that were the start. And then once I'm through those 2 beads there, I'm going to go up the ladder stitch, get that thread end out of there. And I'm just going to go up the ladder stitch here and pull those first connections a little tighter. Because on camera, sometimes it's hard to get that connection tight. This reinforces that area right there, getting that connection a little tighter, bringing it back down then towards the end of the ring, back in through the bail there. See how that just tightened it up a little bit. And again, if you want to, you can do your Christmas colors as your piece here. You can see I'm taking my thread and needle now through some of the thread on the end here, through some of the beads, getting it back to the starter side, and then I'm just going to tie my thread knot. See how that loop sits perfectly on top of the piece? If you want to wear it as a pendant, you just push it up towards the top. Really, really simple to change a pendant into a ring, especially one that's a little bit larger, because the weight will make it hang correctly on your neckline and on your necklace. I'm going to tie that off, 2 ties, grab my thread burner, press in that button, heat it up, and burn down those additional threads there. Burn those down close towards the project. And then you have your ring, ornament, pendant, earrings, whatever you want to make with your little wreath ring here, all finished and ready to go.